Apologize for being late. And we all know in the government contracting world, when you're late, your submission is denied. Whew. I haven't even gotten a full sip of my coffee this morning. That's how late I am. And there's no excuse for being late. I was just being uber lazy this morning and so lost track of time. Mm. But welcome to this morning edition of Contractors Chatter. I am Luciana Turner. I am your host. Oh, my neck has a crick in it from where I slept wrong. I laid a little wrong. I have a little crick in my neck. So excuse me if I kind of try to move my neck a little bit to relieve the tension in it. Um, It is just one of these mornings where the morning just be morninging and it's trying to morning without me. But that's okay. I'm gonna keep pushing on. Oh my goodness. I didn't even get a chance to get my chair set up right. That's how this morning is going, but it's gonna be okay. I don't even have my notebook in front of me. Oh my God. I don't even know what I'm supposed to be talking about. And today was supposed to be my extended chatter that I was going to record for the podcast. And I guess we'll have to do that tomorrow. Uh, so we're flying by the seat of our pants this morning. Okay, so this is what we're doing. Yes, this is what we're doing. And this is a lesson in being prepared and being a good steward and knowing what you know. And this is how we're going. And I'm going to talk on or expand on what I started the conversation with in being late is a submission denied. And I want to share a story with you, which is a leadership story. And it's a leadership story from where I didn't lead the project right. And it's a leadership story where I shouldn't have been leading the project at all. You know how we do. As you enter the room, say hello, drop a comment in the chat. If you're catching this by the replay, hashtag replay. If you find this content valuable, share it. Anyway, I had just started my business. I was still, as they call in the entrepreneurial world, parallelpreneuring. I was starting my company and still working my 9 to 5. For those of you who know my background, I am a government contracting compliance specialist when I was in industry. Basically, I interacted with DCAA, and that's the Defense Contract Audit Agency, on behalf of my company answering audit requests. At its worst, we worked 50, sometimes 60 hours a week answering audit requests. At its best, we did standard 40 hours in preparation for the audit. It was crazy. And I was propping up a company, answering RFPs, trying to set up my systems, building a team. I was doing the most. I was basically working full time for a company and working full time for myself, establishing myself as a government contractor and as a consultant. So I was really working 3 companies. Crazy, I know. At this time, I was responding to a request for a proposal, and I had someone on my team who was writing part, and I was writing part. Now, the response was due the next day, and I said I was going to drive the response in. It was an hour and a half drive from where I lived at that current time. Now the instructions were clear in the proposal request. You had to put certain information on every segment or on the top of each page. Now, When the person who was handling that section of the proposal gave it to me, they did a summary on the back. Now, they gave it to me late. I mean, literally, it was 1 o'clock in the morning when they gave it to me. And something told me to read through it. And when I read through it, it was non-compliant. And it wasn't a simple fix. It was a pulling the information out, seeing where it went, plugging it on top of the pages it went on, readjusting the formatting so that the pages fell the way it was supposed to fall, and then putting it in my company's template. So I called them because he sent it to me at 1 o'clock in the morning. I called them and said, "You didn't do what you were supposed to do. This information is supposed to be at the top of every page." "Well, it'll just be at the end." That's a non-compliance. And contractors tip. If the government tells you they want something a certain way, give it to them the way they want it. It is not for you to decide that it's more efficient for it to be a certain way. The government wants it a certain way because that's the way they want it. Who cares if you agree with it or not? They want it that way for their review purposes. You don't know why. I literally stayed up fixing this document. I then, thank God for my sister, she drove. I was on my laptop in the car, cell phone plugged in, charging, using my hotspot, fixing a document. I stopped. It's a good thing where we were going. I grew up in that state. So I knew where to stop at to go to FedEx Kinko's to print copies of the documents. That's how late we were. We were still pressing it to print copies of this document. I'm standing there signing the document as the other copies come off. One stamping copy original, binding it up. Something told me, look at the RFP again. They didn't want it bound. I had to stop the print job because they only wanted it binder clipped. They didn't want it professionally saddle stitched. Thank God for me, I was able to tell the clerk to stop copying and only saddle stitch 2 copies and just start recopying again. So those saddle stitch copies became my office copies. Tip 2, when you submit proposals, always keep a copy. You need them for audit purposes. Everything gets audited in the government, and you want to have copies of your proposal just for your own internal review. Keep going. So we're making the copies. I'm signing stuff. My sister is with me, making sure all the papers, and we're inserting the inserts and the addendums, and we arrived to the place 2 minutes late. Literally 2 minutes late. And they would not accept my proposal for those 2 minutes. I was devastated. I was so devastated. I literally stayed up all night long fixing that. So my sister treated me to breakfast and we drove back home. Now, in the meantime, the person who didn't do it right in the first place is calling me. Did you get the proposal in? And I told him no, because I had to fix what he didn't do right. So he in turn tells me, well, why didn't you submit it? I said, because it would have been rejected. The RFP clearly stated if it wasn't the way it was supposed to be, it was a clear rejection. Leadership lesson number 1 in government contracting. I had no business fixing that error. I should have sent it back to him and told him to fix it. As the CEO of my company, I should not have stayed up all night long fixing that. He should have fixed it. And as the leader of my company, I should have demanded he fix the error. When you're running a company, you have to flip the switch from employee to employer. And you must set standards that you expect. And your standards are the bare minimum. I have a spiritual mentor who is also a business mentor. And he hammers that point home constantly. And as I'm sharing this story with you, I wish I had somebody or I had invested at that time in my seedling years in mentorship and coaching at the level that I expected a result. Because had I had that lesson then, I would have won that contract because I'm that sure of my game. Two, I didn't rebound from that quickly enough. I missed that proposal submission by 2 minutes because somebody else didn't do what they were supposed to do. But I also missed that proposal submission by 2 minutes because I didn't set the standard as the leader of my company and my organization. Everything starts with me. Everything starts with you. You set the standard. And that is the bare minimum. You're not being harsh, and life happens. We all understand that. Life gets to lifing sometimes. But that contract was the difference between paying payroll and growing my company and not. So while we understand life happens and things happen, that was a flagrant disregard for the rules and the procedures that were supposed to occur. I didn't stand in my leadership as the owner and the director of my company. Therefore, I lost out on that contract. That is a lesson in leadership that I wanted to share with you so that you don't stumble and fall. Now, somebody is going to listen to this recording, whether it be this morning, tomorrow, or it may be 2 years from now, and say, Luciana, how can I prevent this from happening? And I want to share these tips with you this morning. One, this is a long-term process. It's a long-term journey. Do not do it alone. And understand you will have to make choices. Two, you hear it a lot and people make light of it, but it's true. Excuse me. Your mindset must shift. You must think differently. So as a man thinks, he is. And for all you other people, so as a person thinks, he is, for those of you who can't make the leap and make the connection. If you think like an employee, all you will do is make employee level decisions. And you can't run a company thinking and behaving as an employee. It's a different level of leadership to decide how to spend your money. It's a different level of leadership to decide whether or not you should invest in coaching. It's a different level of leadership to decide if you should spend $250 to have an encounter session with a consultant. It's a different level of leadership to get into a consulting or coaching program to up level your leadership to an executive level leadership. There's levels to this thing. Understanding that when you start your company, you need to start instilling policies and procedures. But Luciana, it's only me, but will it only be you all the time? And if so, you should not store your whole company here. Because let me tell you, there are times I forget what I decided that I was going to do. And it's not because I'm a ditz, it's because life happens. Is a lot of information. And there are things that I decided were efficient in 2015. It's now 2023. They're not efficient anymore. And I may have thought it was efficient then, and I forgot the reason why it was efficient then, and it's no longer efficient now. Understanding your reasoning for making decisions and why they need to change and documenting those reasons so that if you decide to expand and work with somebody and they say, hey, why don't we do it this way? For your peace of mind, when you go to explain it or revisit it, you can say, that's why I made that decision. Documenting your decision making is cathartic for you, and it will help you document the growth trajectory of your company. Understanding that education is a vital part of any growth. And becoming informed and educated about every industry that you're operating in. Continuing education as a leader is paramount and is important. I will tell anybody I am not a marketing guru, but guess what I'm getting ready to do? Take some marketing classes. Not because I want to become the best marketer out there, because I want to be a learned marketer. So I can understand the subtle nuances of it. I am skilled and proficient at what I do, and I fully intend to stay in my lane. But I want to understand and develop the areas that I am weak. Because a weak leader is a weak company. And I want to be able to hire efficiently in the areas that I am weak in. And you cannot do that if you're ignorant in the areas that you're weak in. So with that, I'm going to wrap up and invite you to join me tomorrow morning at 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for an extended contractors chatter. I will be recording for my podcast on tomorrow. So that will be a contractors conversation. And I will bring you some, not a wrap up of this week, but we will have a beautiful conversation around government contracting. I may even see if I can invite a guest for tomorrow, see if they can pop in. And with that, have an amazing, amazing day. I'm going to see if I will get ahead of this day because it got ahead of me. Have a beautiful one. Remember, a stressed mind can never create. And I'm going to go do some stretches so I can get this kink out my neck. Have a good one.